Captain Erica Hart stood before the vast holographic map, the projection of the galaxy flickering in front of her eyes. The Earth fleet was spread out like a line of thunderclouds, hidden just beyond the reach of the Galactic Council's sensors. She clenched her fists, a determined fire burning in her chest. The Council's latest communication had been clear: submit, or face the consequences. The words still echoed in her mind. Humanity must submit to the Galactic Council. Failure to do so will be met with force. She had expected something like this. In truth, it had been inevitable. For years, the Council had viewed Earth with disdain, dismissing the human race as unpredictable and beneath their authority. They had underestimated humanity's resolve and, most importantly, the strength of its will. Now, Earth was on the verge of making its stand. Report, Erica said, her voice cutting through the quiet hum of the command deck. Lieutenant Jackson, her tactical officer, turned to face her, a screen full of data flickering in his hands. Captain, we've confirmed it. The Council's fleets are on high alert. They're expecting us to obey their orders, just like every other species that's ever bent the knee to them. Erica nodded, her eyes narrowing. They think we're like the rest of them. Weak. Submissive. And they're wrong, Jackson added, a fierce pride in his tone. We're not them. The Earth fleet will show them that. Exactly, Erica replied, her voice steady. We don't kneel. We fight. The bridge fell silent, the weight of her words sinking in. Around her, the officers of the Earth fleet were silent but resolute. The crew knew what was at stake. This wasn't just a military operation, it was a statement. A declaration of humanity's place in the galaxy. The Council would not dictate humanity's future. A quiet voice broke the silence. Captain, we're receiving another transmission from the Galactic Council. Erica's heart skipped a beat. She knew what it would say. Another demand. Another warning. But this time, there was no going back. She nodded to her communications officer. Put it on screen. A hologram flickered to life in the center of the room. The figure that appeared was unmistakable, a towering figure with the calm, measured voice of Chancellor Velkarin, the leader of the Galactic Council. His alien eyes glowed faintly, the iridescence of his species reflecting in the dim light of the room. Captain Erica Hart, he said, his voice as smooth as polished stone. You have been informed of the Council's decision. There is no need for further resistance. The Earth fleet must stand down and submit to our authority. Erica stood straight, every fiber of her being screaming defiance. She took a deep breath, her voice cutting through the space between them like a blade. Chancellor Velkarin, you've made a mistake. A slight twitch in his otherwise composed expression indicated a flicker of surprise. A mistake? You've underestimated humanity, Erica said. You believe we're like the others, that we'll bow to you like the rest of your subjugated species. But we are not them. We will not submit. We will not be controlled. There was a long pause as the Chancellor's eyes narrowed, his mind clearly working through the implications of her words. The hologram crackled slightly, the tension palpable. You are aware of the consequences? Velkarin asked, his voice tinged with barely contained disdain. I am, Erica replied, her voice unwavering. And we're ready for them. Velkarin's image flickered for a moment before stabilizing again. You will be crushed, just like the others. Your fleet is no match for the might of the Galactic Council. You will submit, or you will perish. A bitter smile tugged at the corner of Erica's mouth. We'll see about that, Chancellor. Without another word, she severed the transmission. The silence that followed was deafening. But this time, it wasn't filled with doubt, it was filled with purpose. Earth was no longer a passive participant in the galaxy. The Council's threat was not just an attack on their independence. It was a rallying cry. Prepare the fleet, Erica ordered, her voice cold, calculated. We move out in 10 minutes. The officers sprang into action, their movements sharp and efficient. Jackson quickly turned back to her. Captain, we've already deployed the stealth fighters and initiated the first phase of our infiltration. The fleet is ready to engage. Erica looked out the viewport, her gaze drawn to the stars beyond. This wasn't just a fight for survival, it was a fight for identity. For humanity's place in the galaxy. "We'll show them what happens when you underestimate Earth," she muttered to herself. Behind her, the crew worked tirelessly, their focus unwavering. The bridge hummed with activity, but there was no panic, no hesitation. The time for diplomacy had passed. Now, it was time for action. The Earth fleet was ready. Ready to send a message to the Council that would echo across the galaxy. "Captain," Jackson called, breaking her focus. "The fleet is in position. We're cloaked and ready to jump into the Council's system." Erica nodded, her jaw clenched. This was it. The Earth fleet was about to make history. "We jump on my mark," she said. "Engage." A series of commands were issued, and the immense fleet of ships surrounding their flagship, the Endurance, shifted into formation. With precision and synchronized efficiency, they activated their jump drives, ready to enter the heart of Council space. The stars outside the viewport seemed to stretch, and the entire fleet vanished into the vastness of space, disappearing into a dark, mysterious corridor toward their final destination. As the Earth fleet moved into the unknown, Erica couldn't help but feel a twinge of excitement. It wasn't just a battle ahead. It was a new era for humanity. An era where they would no longer be the underdogs. The fight was on, and it would be a fight to the end. The Earth fleet emerged from the jump with a brutal clarity, instant, disorienting, and magnificent. The vastness of the Galactic Council's capital station, Latar, lay ahead like an indomitable wall of polished metal and glass, nestled in the heart of a nebula swirling with cosmic storms. Its sheer scale was intimidating, but Erica Hart didn't flinch. There was no time for hesitation now. They were here to make a statement, not to shrink away. "All systems online, Captain," Lieutenant Jackson reported, his voice crisp and unshaken. "Stealth systems functioning perfectly. We're undetected for now." Erica nodded without turning from the viewport. "Keep it that way. No mistakes." She took a deep breath. The tension on the bridge was palpable. The fleet was invisible to the sensors of the Galactic Council, but that would only last so long. Their first move would be crucial. Any hint of weakness, any delay, could undo everything. "Helm, take us into position, one click from their defense perimeter," she ordered, voice cutting through the growing silence. The Endurance's massive thrusters flared to life, pushing the flagship gently forward. "Understood, Captain," the helmsman responded, his fingers dancing across the console. The ship's engines hummed low and steady, each calculated pulse of energy a testament to the flawless precision of Earth's technology. Erica felt the weight of the moment pressing on her chest. They had crossed the threshold. There was no turning back. This was humanity's defining moment. The Council would never see it coming. On the command deck, her officers were busy adjusting their systems, tracking the incoming signals from the Council's forces. The fleet had only a small window before the Council would detect their presence. With a final check, Erica leaned forward, her eyes locked on the swirling nebula. "Captain, we have incoming communications." "It's from the Council," said the communications officer, breaking the silence. "Put it through," Erica said, her voice cool. Her crew had grown accustomed to her calm under pressure, but the eyes of every officer were glued to the screen, waiting for the first move from the enemy. The holographic projection flickered to life, revealing the imposing figure of Chancellor Velkarin. His towering form, radiant with his species' iridescent glow, stood in stark contrast to the sharp edges of the Council's military fleet. "Captain Hart," he began, his voice smooth and arrogant, "I trust this is not another mistake? You've entered Galactic Council space without permission. You know the consequences." Erica's expression remained unwavering. "I'm here to deliver a message, Chancellor. Not to ask for permission." Velkarin's eyes narrowed. "You're playing with forces you don't understand, Captain. You think your fleet can challenge the might of the Galactic Council? You'll be crushed like every other failed rebellion." Her voice was steady, cutting through his threats with surgical precision. "I'm not asking for your approval, Velkarin. You've underestimated humanity. We won't kneel. His gaze darkened. This will be your final warning. Stand down now, or we will bring the full force of the Council upon you. Erica stood tall, her stance a direct challenge to his pompous authority. And that, she said with a slight tilt of her head, is the difference between us. You think you can crush us, but all you've done is awaken something you can't control. We're not submitting. Not now, not ever. The transmission cut abruptly, his image flickering out in a burst of static. Erica felt a quiet satisfaction in the silence that followed. The gauntlet had been thrown. Prepare for Phase 1, Erica said, voice laced with determination. Initiate the jamming systems. We'll take the first strike. The bridge buzzed with activity as the crew went to work. Erica turned her attention to Jackson. Lieutenant, send the stealth fighters in. We'll strike the Council's outer defenses first. Precision only. Already on it, Captain, Jackson replied. The fighters are ready. We'll hit them hard and fast. The fleet began to shift, moving with the grace of a well-oiled machine. A small group of Earth's finest stealth fighters detached from the fleet, their cloaks rendering them invisible to the Council's sensors. They moved swiftly toward the outer edges of Lather's defensive perimeter, weapons primed and ready for the strike. Erica watched the data streams, her mind calculating every move. This was more than a tactical strike, it was a calculated challenge to the Council's superiority. Every action, every decision, had to be precise. There could be no mistakes. A few tense minutes passed, but the quiet was shattered by the sudden eruption of data across her screen. Captain, the communications officer called out urgently. We've detected incoming enemy ships. They're not responding to our jamming signals. They've found us. Bring up their coordinates. Erica barked, snapping into action. The holographic map of the battlefield expanded, showing the incoming Council forces, massive, hulking ships that radiated power. But it was too late for them. Earth had already made its move. Engage stealth mode. All ships go dark. We'll use the element of surprise, Erica ordered, her voice a sharp command. Get ready for combat. The Endurance's hull hummed as its cloaking systems kicked in, vanishing from the sensors of the approaching fleet. The stealth fighters, now fully integrated into the attack, began their strike, darting toward the enemy ships in rapid succession. Each fighter unleashed a precise volley of energy pulses, disabling key parts of the Council's defensive line. Target their engines, Erica ordered. No direct kills unless necessary. We're sending a message, not slaughtering innocents. Jackson's hands flew over the console. Aye, Captain. Engaging. The fighters slipped past the enemy defenses like shadows, and within moments, they had crippled several of the Council's forward ships. The blast shields around Lathar flickered briefly before stabilizing. Erica felt a rush of adrenaline. The first move had been made, but it was only the beginning. The Council would retaliate, of course. But they had no idea what was coming next. Brace for impact, she warned the crew, her voice steely. A distant rumble shook the ship as enemy fire began to light up the starry expanse, closing in on the Endurance and its fleet. The battle had truly begun. Erica felt her pulse quicken, but her mind stayed sharp, her resolve unyielding. The Earth fleet was no longer a passive player in the galaxy. It was a force to be reckoned with, and today, they were about to show the Galactic Council just how wrong they had been. The Earth fleet moved with precision, its ships shadowed against the cold expanse of space, unseen by the enemy. The silence of space was broken only by the steady hum of the Endurance's engines. Erica Hart stood at the helm, eyes focused on the tactical display before her. The first wave of stealth fighters had done their job, crippling the Council's outer defenses, but the real fight was only just beginning. Captain, incoming enemy warships on all vectors, Lieutenant Jackson reported, his voice calm despite the growing tension. They're forming a battle formation. The Council's response time is faster than we anticipated. How many ships? Erica asked, her voice tight. 10 dreadnoughts, 20 cruisers, and numerous frigates, Jackson replied. They're using their full strength. Erica's jaw tightened. This wasn't the first time they'd been outnumbered, but it was the first time they had fought for their survival in the heart of enemy territory. The Council's fleet was formidable, but the Earth fleet had something they didn't, an unwavering will to win. "Bring up the tactical map," Erica ordered. The holographic projection expanded before her, showing the incoming Council fleet in its full, threatening formation. The mass of ships loomed in space, dark and looming, their weapons primed for battle. "Captain," the communications officer called. "The Council is demanding immediate surrender. They're sending us a message. Shall I put it through?" Erica didn't hesitate. "No. We're not negotiating." She turned to Jackson. "Initiate counterattack. All ships move into position. We hit them hard and fast, no hesitation." Jackson gave a sharp nod. "Aye, Captain. Diverting power to the weapons systems now. We're ready." The Endurance and the rest of the fleet began to shift, moving in sync like a predator adjusting its stance. The enemy fleet was a massive wall of firepower, but the Earth fleet had the element of surprise on their side. They wouldn't go down quietly. Erica's eyes scanned the readouts before her. There was no room for mistakes, no room for doubt. The fate of humanity rested on their ability to strike first and make the Council understand that they weren't going to bend the knee. "On my mark," she said. "Fire!" The Earth fleet surged forward, a torrent of light cutting through the darkness. The Endurance's primary cannons flared to life, sending brilliant blasts of energy toward the oncoming enemy ships. The Council shields flickered, buckling under the force of the barrage. "Direct hit!" Jackson called out. "Their lead dreadnought is taking heavy damage. Shields are down to 40%. Erica's eyes never left the battlefield. "Focus fire on their command ship. We disable them, we cripple their ability to respond." The Endurance's guns roared again, unleashing a volley of laser fire that raked across the hull of the lead Council dreadnought. Sparks and debris flew into space, but the ship held strong. The enemy was resilient, but Earth had learned to fight through adversity. "Captain, enemy frigates closing in on our flank," the tactical officer reported urgently. "They're attempting to box us in." Erica didn't flinch. "Send in the backup ships. Form a defensive perimeter. We won't let them surround us." At her command, the remaining ships in the Earth fleet shifted their positions, interlocking their formations to create a wall of defense. The frigates were fast, but they couldn't break through the Earth fleet's coordination. "Captain, their cruisers are preparing a retaliatory strike," Jackson warned. "We need to prepare for heavy fire. Brace for impact," Erica ordered, her voice calm but commanding. The Endurance shuddered as enemy fire struck its shields. The impact rattled the crew, but Erica didn't flinch. She had been through worse. They would survive this. "Shields holding at 70%, Captain," the engineer reported, a note of relief in his voice. "The armor's taking the hits, but we're holding steady." Erica glanced over at him. "Keep them steady. We're not backing down." The battle raged on around them, flashes of energy lighting up the darkness as the Earth fleet and the Galactic Council exchanged blows. The larger Council ships were slower, their massive frames offering a bigger target, but they had the firepower to turn any ship into scrap in seconds. "Captain, we've got a breach in the port side," the communications officer shouted. "Enemy boarding ships are on their way." Erica's heart skipped a beat. "Seal off the sections. All hands, prepare for boarding action. We're not giving them an inch." "Yes, Captain," came the chorus of replies from the bridge crew. Erica turned to Jackson. "Take tactical command. I'm going to the deck. If they want a fight, they'll get one." Jackson didn't hesitate. "Understood. I've got it, Captain." Erica quickly made her way to the elevator, her mind already shifting gears. The Earth fleet wasn't just going to win this battle, they were going to send a message to the Council. She wouldn't let them board her ship. Not now, not ever. As she reached the lower levels, she joined the elite security forces stationed at the boarding hatch. The sound of clanking metal echoed in the corridors as enemy soldiers closed in. Erica's pulse quickened, but her expression remained steely. "Ready your weapons," she ordered. "We're not letting them take anything." The doors of the hatch hissed open just as the first wave of Council soldiers lunged into view. Erica drew her pulse rifle and fired without hesitation, her shots precise and deadly. The first few Council soldiers crumpled, but more poured through, their faces cold and determined. Erica's heart pounded, but she fought through the chaos, moving with the discipline she had honed over years of service. Each shot was a message: Earth was not afraid. Earth would not fall. "Hold them off!" she shouted to her security team, her voice cutting through the noise. "This ship is ours!" The battle was fierce, but the Council soldiers quickly realized that Earth's forces were unlike anything they had ever encountered. They were relentless. They were prepared. Within minutes, the breach was contained, and the enemy forces retreated. The deck was littered with the bodies of fallen soldiers, but the Earth fleet stood strong. Erica wiped the sweat from her brow, her eyes narrowing as she took a moment to survey the scene. The battle wasn't over yet, but they had made their mark. The Earth fleet had shown the Council they weren't a force to be taken lightly. "Return to the bridge," Erica ordered, her voice low but filled with fierce determination. "The Council will know they're facing more than just a rebellion. We're humanity's last stand, and we're not backing down." As Erica made her way back to the command center, the Earth fleet's momentum had shifted. The fight was far from over, but the message was clear: they had arrived, and the galaxy would never be the same. The battle had escalated beyond the point of no return. Erica Hart stood in the heart of the command deck, her eyes locked onto the tactical display. The Council's once imposing fleet had been battered, their defenses faltering under the Earth fleet's relentless assault. But they hadn't surrendered. Not yet. And the fight was far from over. "Captain," Jackson said, his voice filled with tension, "their reinforcements are arriving. Another dozen ships, including more dreadnoughts. They've rallied every vessel they could spare." Erica didn't blink. "Bring up the reinforcements' coordinates." The map expanded, showing the incoming enemy fleet, more monstrous than before. The Council had underestimated Earth's resolve, but now, they were playing their final hand. The sheer size of their fleet was overwhelming, but Erica knew better than anyone, size wasn't everything. Strategy was what mattered. "We can't afford to let them regroup," she muttered under her breath, tapping a finger against her chin. "Send a strike force to hit their new command center. If we take that down, we cripple their coordination." Jackson's hands flew across the console. "Sending in the bombers now. They'll hit their flagship's docking bays. It's the most vulnerable point in their formation." Erica nodded. "Good. We can't let them bring in more ships to reinforce their lines." With a single command, the bombers left the fleet, sleek and deadly, slipping through the chaos of the battlefield. Erica watched them disappear into the vastness of space, their stealth systems cloaking them as they approached the enemy flagship. "Keep tracking their movements," she said, her voice sharp. "We need to know exactly when they're in position." Jackson's fingers moved in a blur. "Aye, Captain. They're approaching. 30 seconds until strike." On the display, the enemy flagship loomed, its massive bulk surrounded by a defensive net of smaller vessels. The bombers would have to penetrate that net to deliver their payload, an impossible task if they weren't quick and silent. Erica's gaze was fixed on the countdown. "Fire!" she ordered without hesitation. The silence of space was shattered by the sudden brilliance of explosions. The bomber's payload struck with surgical precision, targeting the docking bays of the flagship. Flashes of light erupted as the bombs detonated, tearing apart the vessel's defensive shields. "Direct hits," Jackson reported, his voice filled with a grim satisfaction. "Their docking bays are offline. They're scrambling to regroup." Erica allowed herself a moment of satisfaction. It was a small victory, but one that sent a powerful message. The Council wasn't invincible. They had a weakness, and Earth had found it. But the relief was fleeting. "Incoming fire!" the tactical officer called, his voice frantic. "They're retaliating with everything they've got." Dreadnoughts are locking onto our position. Erica's heart raced. The next few moments would decide everything. All ships spread out. Prepare for evasive maneuvers. We're not sitting still. The Endurance lurched violently as enemy fire slammed into its shields. The ship groaned under the pressure, but the shields held. For now. The bridge was a flurry of activity as Erica's crew worked in unison, expertly countering the enemy's strikes. Captain, Jackson warned. They've adjusted their weapons targeting systems. They're focusing everything on us. Erica's mind raced. The Council was trying to break their formation by picking them off one by one. But Earth wasn't about to fall for that. Increase speed. All ships fan out and focus fire on their lead dreadnought. Let's show them what happens when you underestimate us. The Earth fleet surged forward, scattering to avoid the concentrated fire, their weapons blazing with deadly force. The dreadnoughts of the Galactic Council took the brunt of the punishment, their shields flickering and buckling under the sustained onslaught. But it was the Endurance that was at the center of the storm, the flagship taking hits that sent tremors through its hull. Erica gripped the edge of her command chair, her knuckles white, but she didn't let the pressure show. We're not backing down, she said, her voice hard. Take out their lead ship. We finish this now. The Endurance roared to life, its guns discharging a torrent of energy at the Council's flagship. The beams of light tore through the enemy ship's weakened shields, blasting through its thick armor. Sparks flew from the damaged vessel, and the shockwave of each blast rattled the entire battlefield. Shields at 50%, the engineer reported. Hull integrity at 60%. We're taking hits, Captain. Not good enough, Erica muttered. We pushed forward. The Earth fleet didn't falter. The fleet's smaller ships moved with coordinated precision, forming a deadly perimeter around their flagship, protecting it from further damage. The Council's dreadnoughts began to fall one by one, their once pristine surfaces now riddled with the scars of battle. But just as it seemed victory was within their grasp, the Council's final card was played. A massive rift in space tore open. A new ship emerged, unlike any Erica had seen before, a monstrous, heavily armored vessel that dwarfed even the largest dreadnought. Its sleek, dark hull absorbed the light, making it seem like a shadow in the void of space. The flagship of the Galactic Council had arrived, a ship so powerful it was designed to crush any opposition. Captain, they've deployed the Xandros, Jackson said, his voice tense. The most advanced warship in the fleet. If we don't stop it now, we'll be finished. Erica's mind raced. The Xandros was a game-changer. The weaponry alone could decimate the Earth fleet in minutes. But Erica wasn't about to give up. Not now. Not ever. All ships concentrate fire on the Xandros, she ordered. We take it down or we die trying. The Earth fleet, battered and bruised but undeterred, turned its focus on the behemoth that now threatened their very existence. The Endurance led the charge, unleashing everything it had at the incoming ship. The Xandros' shields flared, but it was clear the ship's design hadn't anticipated the kind of relentless assault Earth's forces were capable of. The Xandros returned fire with devastating intensity, its weapons striking the Earth fleet's ships with pinpoint accuracy. Explosions erupted in space, but the Earth fleet held firm, determined to see this through. And then it happened. The Xandros' shields failed. A direct hit from the Endurance's primary cannon pierced the core of the ship, causing a chain reaction that tore through its hull. The massive ship began to disintegrate, the once imposing vessel now a twisted wreck of metal and fire. Erica felt a surge of triumph as the Xandros crumbled, but she didn't allow herself to savor the victory. There was still more to be done. The Council would not surrender so easily. Captain, Jackson said, his voice almost reverent. We did it. They're retreating. Erica's eyes flicked across the battlefield. The Council's fleet, once so sure of its superiority, was now in disarray. The Earth fleet had struck the final blow. We've only just begun, she muttered, watching as the retreating ships disappeared into the depths of space. The battle was won, but the war was far from over. Humanity had made its stand, and they would never be overlooked again. Prepare for the next phase, Erica ordered, her voice cold with resolve. We've shown them what Earth is capable of. And we're not done yet.